I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities in Music, the best kept secret in music reviews. Today, we're going to review Fang Island's return to the music scene with their sophomore album, Major, 2 years ago. 2 summers ago, in summer of 2010. Fang Island was a brand new band. They came out with their self-titled debut, which Tom and I listened to, and we really liked it. It was bombastic, indie rock. There's not a lot of good ways to describe it. I mean, it started off with fireworks. I think fireworks is a good way to describe that entire album. You know, you had a lot of just really spastic drums, a lot of just guitar-centric songs that kind of had a crazy structure to them. And the whole album, while it was short, it played like an album, and that played to the favor of VIMTV, and we got into it.
Yeah, huge thundering beats. You got that arena rock kind of harmonized guitar.
For sure.
Like, it almost comes off as metal, but it's like, it's so positive. It's like this positive rock sound that even though it's heavy, you just can't help but smile, and it's hard not to get behind it, really.
Yeah, we were really excited to see where they were going to do, where they were going to take that sound, because I mean, today it's always hard when an artist comes out with a good debut album to see what's going to happen next. You know, there's that thing called the sophomore slump. You know, when in reference to artists coming out with good first albums and then kind of having weaker second albums. So, is Major sophomore slump? Well, I think kind of. Because I think that what you see in Major is you see that Fang Island is really trying to expand their craft. They're focusing a lot on their songwriting. They're trying to make things more serious. They're trying to make things, but still have that same, Fang Island upbeat, optimistic flavor. There's a lot more use of piano and really eclectic piano and some cool piano parts on multiple tracks on this album. And I thought that was a really cool addition.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, still you have the big guitars and everything, but if for the more sentimental parts almost, because there is a lot of that in here too. You know, they're really trying to strike an emotional chord with the listener.
And they're still formatting it as an album, because both, like if you think Kindergarten, the first track, and Victorian in the last track, both involve the piano really heavily, and they have that like kind of looped piano part that's just really cool, super catchy, gets stuck in your head.
Now, the first thing I noticed when I put on this album as compared to their debut, because coming off of a debut, you have some expectations. Now, it's not necessarily fair to base your overall opinion on it of the album on those expectations, which I didn't, but still you have some sense of what to expect. And I was really shocked because the first thing that hit me was the production. And I just want to tackle this beast right now because the production was the biggest problem I had with this album. In general, I mean, there's not much to say for me about the other stuff. I think the songwriting is good. It's in a little bit different of a direction, but still keeping the same overall feel of their first album. But the production, man, it just sounds so weak. And it's not just about, people have these theories about like the loudness, the volume wars in production, that every rock band wants to have things so over-compressed to get it as loud as possible. And, there is some of that out there, but that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm not saying, man, I wish this was louder and I hated having to turn up my volume. It's not about that. It's about the mix. It's about what they did with each individual piece of the song. It's about the way they tied it all together. And I was just so frustrated listening to this, especially I'm going to pick out track 2, Sisterly. My favorite track on this album, probably one of the best written songs of this year for me.
Yeah, it's
I loved it. It got stuck in my head. I could not get off. And this rarely happens to me. I would listen to that song 2 or 3 times in a row. And I never do that. You got to understand. But the problem is, it sounded better in my head when it would get stuck in my head later than it did when I was listening to it.
Because you were automatically fixing
all the things, exactly. You listen to that song and right away you have this acoustic guitar, you have the electric guitar that comes in, it's kind of crunchy, kind of dirty, it still works, but then when the drums come in, man, the cymbals are so compressed down, they're like squished down, and they don't carry any of the intensity. Go back and listen to Fang Island's debut and you will hear these huge, just astonishing drums. Here, the toms are almost non-existent. The kick drum is just kind of flabby and soft. The snare sounds just really poppy and distant. And the cymbals are pushed down to the point where they just don't carry any of the weight of the song.
To me, it sounded like they were really focused on the guitars.
Definitely.
This is a guitar-centric album where they're not using piano. It's all about the guitars. And to me, there's a lot of harmonized choral vocals. And I really like that. I really thought that is a nice edge. But I can't hear them. I can't hear anything that the vocals are doing, and so the vocals just play kind of a background role. Well, when you have vocals on a track, it always comes down, I mean, I always look at this. Are the vocals adding value? If not, why are they there? Because if you have really interesting instrumentation, why the hell do you need vocals? Do you? Post-rock is a genre. We don't need vocals for post-rock because the instrumentation is very interesting. So my thing is that when the guitars and all the other instrumentation is covering up what the good things that the vocals are doing, it negates the point of having vocals whatsoever. And to me, you know, there's times where I felt like that, but there is more often than not, I wish that I could have heard the vocals more, that they played a more dominant role in the mix. I would have liked the songs more.
And that point is reinforced by the fact that there's a couple of really stellar instrumental tracks
That's
on
totally
here.
true.
And I mean, it just shows that if they can pull off an instrumental track, then the tracks with vocals should play a more prominent role.
Yeah.
Just to create more contrast between the tracks on the album.
I totally agree. I really liked a few of these tracks. I think track 6, Asunder, or Asunder, however you say it, I thought that was a great example of how they're really growing as songwriters.
Yeah.
That song is just very, very well written. It builds throughout. It just packs a punch. I love it. But yeah, I would say that the production issues really bring this down from like a mid-80s album down to a mid-70s for me. I think I'm going to go 74 on it.
I'm going 75.
Yeah, so we're right there. It's solid. It's a good album. This has a lot of redeeming qualities other than the production issues, but those production issues are kind of making this a ceiling for us. We can't really get over these things because just flat out, this could have been a lot better had they just cleaned up some of this stuff in the mix. Have you guys listened to Major? Are you into Fang Island? Tell us what you thought of this album, because this is kind of a cool, sophomore album coming off of their debut that we really liked. And if you guys really like that and then listen to Major, we'd be really, really interested in hearing your thoughts on this album. Let us know at www.velocitiesandmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesandmusic. Also, as always, follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook. That's where we do all of our talking with you guys, and you guys do such an awesome job of letting us know what cool music is out there that we need to check out and review. So thank you guys for participating. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.
If you